The German cars and the circuits of Europe are silent. 2 days ago, Hitler invaded Belgium and Holland. But in North Africa, on Marshal Balbo's monumental circuit, the Italians hold their last Tripoli Grand Prix. This circuit was built in the early 30s to demonstrate to the world the speed and control of Italian cars and racing drivers. But in the face of German domination, Italy limited her own Grand Prix races to smaller 1.5-litre cars. Her little Alfa Romeos and Maseratis of today are to set the pace of post-war racing. The winning car is a 158 Alfa Romeo. The driver, Dr. Giuseppe Farina. The Americans are the only people still racing by the end of 1940. Grand Prix racing, with its focus in Europe, hasn't caught on in the States, and it's left to keen amateurs to run a last road race at the World's Fair in New York. Again, the winning car is an Italian Alfa Romeo. The war has entered its second year. But these are the garages of Indianapolis on the morning of the last 500-mile race. The oval track with its banked turns puts all the emphasis on sheer speed, but the advantages of good road holding are clear. Twice running, Wilbur Shaw has won on his Italian Maserati, and he's heading for a third win when a wheel goes. Maury Rose, the little guy with the big moustache, wins the last 500. An epoch is over, but Rose is one who will be ready to drive again as motor racing struggles to be reborn. Italy will still have two of the greatest professional drivers of the 20s, Nuvolari and Vazzi, besides her latest champions, Farina of Alfa Romeo and Luigi Villoresi of Maserati. Britain will start with only a handful of amateurs driving their own cars, like Reg Parnell and Prince Bira. France will have her own champion, the wealthy amateur Raymond Sommer, besides Louis Chiron, the 3-time winner of the French Grand Prix, and Jean-Pierre Vermille, the one driver left in the Bugatti works team. Professional German drivers, like Caracciola and Lang, will have no teams to go back to for years to come. The war is hardly over before the French start racing. It's a matter of getting any possible car. The circuit is a makeshift right on the edge of Paris on the roads of the Bois de Boulogne. There's little enough fuel and tires for essential services. But after all, Paris is where motor racing was born. The crowd thrilled to see their own Jean-Pierre Vermille winning again at the wheel of the very last of the racing Bugattis. A tourist attraction of the Côte d'Azur in the 30s was Grand Prix racing in the streets. And there's a team of 1.5-litre Maseratis from Italy when the Nice Grand Prix is revived. This short, twisting circuit is ideal for the Italian cars. Chiron also does well with his rare Grand Prix version of a Talbot. But the others have to work hard with their big, stripped sports cars. It's been a triumph of diplomacy to get an Italian team across the frontier so soon after the war, although Villoresi, like everyone else, is out of practice. His Maserati's winning speed is only slightly slower than the pre-war record. There's plenty to celebrate, and even the champagne goes wild. On the same April day in Britain, treasured cars are brought out into the spring sunshine. During the war, enthusiasm for motor racing has been growing as never before, and a Grand Prix in Hyde Park is the hopeful dream. Unfortunately, the law forbids the use of public roads for racing, and now Brooklands and all the other circuits have been closed. Reality is part of the runway of a borrowed aerodrome at Elstree. A real race is impossible, but 100 entries have been received just to drive against the clock for a quarter of a mile. No one is discouraged, and these few enthusiasts of the Vintage Sports Car Club are the forerunners of thousands competing in British club meetings nearly every summer weekend. Motor racing enthusiasm is spreading worldwide. A record crowd comes to the 1946 Indianapolis 500. Like all circuits, it has suffered from neglect during the war. But Speedway history is made when the lap record is broken by a new, independently sprung car, a Novi Governor. But it, and many of the old warriors, don't last the distance. Towards the finish, only 8 cars are actually running. The winning Thorn Special has old-fashioned springing, but its driver, George Robson, has averaged over 114 for the 500 miles. The racing fever mounts when the works Maseratis come as far as Paris. Scuderia Milan have signed up Sommer as well as the great Nuvolari. Alongside the 1.5-litre Maseratis is a big Alfa with Vermeil. Nuvolari retires, but there's real racing between Sommer on the little Maserati and Vermeil on the big Alfa. Unfortunately, Sommer, the lion-hearted, is too enthusiastic. The other Maserati drivers just aren't in the same class. Vermeil is left on his own, winning not only the race, but also an invitation to drive an Alfa Romeo in the works team. The 158 Alfa Romeo, winner at Tripoli, is the most advanced 1.5-litre racing car in the world, with its supercharged straight-8 engine and independent suspension all round. 2 Alfas make their first post-war appearance in the Paris suburb of Saint-Cloud. The broad-nosed Alfas lead, but Sommer delights in getting his Maserati up with Vermeil. Both Alfas disappear with transmission trouble, and no one is more surprised than Sommer to find he has defeated the fastest 1.5-litre cars in the world. When the Swiss run a Grand Prix at Geneva, motor racing is becoming more organized, for there's a newly formed international controlling body, the FIA. But the official starter is still ignored. The Alfas so clearly outclass all other cars that the race becomes a procession. The Italian champion Farina is in front, and their new French driver, Vermeil, has to be content to follow behind. Alfas are first, second, and third when Farina wins.